and I've been commentating for years. Oh my God! I can't believe it! Do you believe it? Jesus Oliveras has ascended, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, let's do it. In stories, a hero is only as great as their greatest enemy. Batman has the Joker, Superman has Lex Luthor, and you probably have your own rivalries that you're competing against. But when you're winning at every corner, you might find yourself living long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I believe it should be everyone's goal to become that villain that everyone wants to tear down, because the more often you get challenged, the more opportunities you get to step up to the plate. And that's why over the past couple years, I've branched out from my tiny little pond. You see, I'm a 26-year-old super heavyweight powerlifter who competes in reps. My best total in my region was 2,300, which is still about 300 pounds over the next best total. So I started competing in bigger meets like the WRPF Ghost Clash in Miami back in 2022, or the American Pro in Manassas, Virginia back in 2022. In my own region, I used to show up and they wouldn't even do calculations for best lifter, they just hand it off to me. So instead of being the big fish in the little pond, I branched out and I started competing against Dan Bell, Andrew House, Shane Howler, people who will write the record books. I had stepped onto the world stage, and despite not winning every meet that I went to, I was still younger than most of the people I was competing against. And while looking for someone to be the Joker to my Batman, I believed I found that in Garrett Fear shit-talking my lifts from the commentary booth.
Again,
that
bar is so sliding unstable. A little bit. I see the same depth.
We'll
I see the same depth. See what the judges say.
They look the same to me.
I think you're gonna.
That's a ramp, soft hips, no lift. 3 white lights. Wow. Cool.
That was until about 2 months ago at the Sheffield Open for the IPF. Enter Jesus Oliveras, a 24-year-old natural lifter, walking out his squats, competing on a power bar in the IPF. Admittedly, even before the Sheffield Open, Jesus had a larger total than I did, but my squat was leaps and bounds better than his, as well as my bench press. But my deficits when it comes to deadlift could not overcome the distance between the two of us. And at the Sheffield Open, Jesus came to compete. Squatting 1,034 pounds, benching 600 pounds, and deadlifting 900 pounds to total 2,541. I was scouring the internet for the Lex Luthor to my Superman, and I found Doomsday. Watching Jesus's performance got me a little shook up. You see, my biggest advantage when it comes to my competitors is that I am younger than most of them. 26 years old is considered a baby in the sport of powerlifting, just barely out of juniors and getting your toes wet in the open class. But Jesus is a different beast altogether, because unlike my other competitors, he's younger than me. And the cherry on top is every advantage I thought I had, he has over me. So let's break it down. I am 26 years old, Jesus is 24. I compete in wraps with a squat bar, Jesus competes in sleeves with a power bar. I compete untested in the WRPF, and Jesus competes in the 100% tested IPF. It's become abundantly clear to me that there's something that he is doing that nobody else is doing. And if nobody else is doing it, then by that logic, I am not doing it. And if I'm not doing something that gives me an advantage over other lifters, then the things that I am doing need to change. And thusly comes our word of the day, deliberate. Being deliberate means that you are approaching things with high intention. It's committing to an action wholeheartedly. For as long as I can remember, my training can be surmised with the phrase, "get her done." In my main movements, my execution was a little to be desired. But I got her done. And when it came to accessories, I either went way too heavy or didn't put forth enough effort. I was basically pushing through training to get through training. An undeliberate way of getting through training. Last week, I was super proud that I finally hit a 300-pound single-arm dumbbell row. I took a video of it and I sent it to my coach to see what he said. And here's what he said.
Patrick, those are dog shit. I'm going to want you to pivot the accessories and do them entirely differently. I want all accessories done as if you were a bodybuilder, full range of motion, hard contraction, strict, lots of movement, not any of this momentum, not any of this go as heavy as possible.
Needless to say, I didn't get the response I expected. Because due to my lack of deliberate nature approaching my training, I am holding myself back. But what does it mean to be more deliberate in training, more deliberate with the accessories? How do we approach things with more intention? Muscle studies in the recent years have shown new ways and more efficient ways to increase the muscle mass on your body. So let me let Dr. Mike from RP Strength describe this new method.
Close to fail, biggest ROM of the stretch, most volume, most metabolites. Those are all things that have been proven in the literature to be correlative or causative of hypertrophy. And they all correlate really well with a pump. And the pump itself causes growth, and it correlates with a ton of other things. So it's a pretty good proxy measure. So if you get a great pump from a workout, is it a guarantee that you're going to cause muscle growth? No. But if you have one workout that for, let's say, your quads causes almost no pump, and another one that causes a psycho pump, the psycho pump one probably going to cause more muscle growth 9 times out of 10. So if you know how to detect a pump and you know how to perfect the pump, you're probably well on your way to engineering a system of training in which you can not guarantee, but increase the probability that growth is going to occur.
So how do you go about increasing your chance or likelihood of getting a pump during training? If you've noticed, powerlifters generally train a lot like a shotgun. A lot of big, heavy movements that do a lot of damage, but a lot of the time you're not going to quite get a pump. Bodybuilders, on the other hand, take a kind of sniper rifle approach. Very targeted movements with a slower tempo, less explosive than the powerlifting movements, with high reps, high volume, and high time under tension. I remember back when I first started lifting, not even powerlifting yet, I used to watch a lot of Kai Green videos for motivation before the gym. Kai used to talk a lot about the mind-muscle connection, talking about how you don't need super heavy weights to build big muscles. And that is the exact kind of deliberate training that I'm talking about. Building that mind-muscle connection with a lot of deliberate movements to create a bigger pump throughout training, leading to bigger gains and a higher likelihood that I'm going to make Jesus shaking his little booties next time I compete. Every time Batman fights a new villain, he has to adapt his methods of fighting. He approaches the Joker differently than he approaches Catwoman. He approaches Justice League things different than things that he would approach in Gotham. And now that I've found the doomsday to my Superman, I am adjusting the training that I'm doing going forward so that I can beat that doomsday. We've got 19 weeks to build and incorporate this new deliberate method of training, cleaning up form, being more deliberate with form, cleaning up the way that I'm training, the way that I'm approaching training, getting more out of my training every time I touch a dumbbell, every time I touch a bar. So stick around with me and follow along, because though we're not number one yet, one of these days we will be. Thanks for watching.